Imagine this. You walk into an interview room. The fluorescent lights are just a little too bright.
Oh, yeah. And the air conditioning is always blasting for some reason.
Right. And the chair you're sitting in is, like, slightly uncomfortable. So you sit down across from the hiring manager, you shake hands, offer that polite, nervous smile, and then
They lean forward.
they fold their hands, and they ask you a deceptively simple question. So, tell me about yourself.
And instantly, you just feel the temperature in the room drop,
Yeah.
the heart rate spikes.
It is the ultimate deer in the headlights moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the exact moment that makes thousands of incredibly qualified candidates completely freeze up every single day.
It's wild. And what's really interesting is that when you look at the source material we're diving into today, which is this comprehensive two-part instructional script called Mastering the Personal Introduction for Professional Interviews, you see that candidates basically fall into two extreme camps when this happens.
Right, two equally destructive camps, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. On one side, you have people who speak for, I don't know, maybe 5 seconds. They just utter a few disjointed facts from their resume and then abruptly stop.
Which just leaves this agonizing dead air in the room.
Yes. Leaving the interviewer to awkwardly prompt them again, which completely kills the momentum.
And then on the other extreme, you've got people who completely panic and just start talking to fill the silence.
Oh, the ramblers.
The ramblers, yeah. They go on for 5 uninterrupted minutes about their childhood hometown, their pets, their favorite types of food.
I mean, essentially losing the entire opportunity before the actual interview even gets off the ground.
Precisely.
So our mission for this deep dive is to completely decode this dreaded prompt. We are taking the insights from these sources to give you, the listener, a foolproof, professional blueprint to answer, "Tell me about yourself with absolute confidence."
Because the goal here goes way beyond just surviving the question.
Right. You don't want to just scrape by.
No, you don't just want to get through it, breathe a sigh of relief, and move on. I mean, this is your one opportunity to master the opening. You're creating a psychological anchor.
A first impression.
Exactly. A powerful first impression that actually dictates how the interviewer filters every single thing you say for the rest of the hour.
Okay, but before we figure out exactly what words you should be saying, we really need to understand the underlying mechanics of why the interviewer is actually asking this in the first place.
That's a great point.
Because, let's be brutally honest here, they have your resume sitting right in front of them.
They do.
They already know where you went to school. They know where you worked last year. So, why ask a question they already have the answer to?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the interviewer does not actually want your life story.
They don't.
No, they're not asking for an audio biography. They are using this prompt purely as a diagnostic tool. Yeah, according to the source script, when they sit back and ask you to tell them about yourself, they are secretly running a background diagnostic on some very specific professional metrics.
Like what?
Well, they're evaluating things like, can you communicate complex ideas clearly? Are you confident under pressure? Can you organize your thoughts on the fly? And ultimately, does your self-perception match the needs of this role?
See, I look at that list of secret metrics, and I have to admit, it almost sounds like a trap.
A trap?
Yeah, like a disguised test designed to make people stumble. I mean, it's like asking someone for the time, and they start telling you how the watch was built from scratch, piece by piece.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right, I'd be super annoyed. So isn't the interviewer really just testing your ability to, filter information?
I mean, yes, but it is less of a trap and much more of a boundary test.
A boundary test. Okay, explain that.
The question is incredibly broad, entirely on purpose. The interviewer is intentionally removing the guardrails to see how you behave in an unstructured environment.
Oh, I see.
If you lack professional boundaries or self-awareness, you will absolutely tell them how the watch was built, starting from the mining of the quartz.
The childhood hometown story.
Exactly. But if you have sharp communication skills, you will just tell them the time, but in a highly strategic way that proves you know exactly why they need to know it in the context of their business.
Okay, let's unpack this. So if they are testing your filter, what exactly is the shape of the filter you are supposed to be pouring your information into?
Right, because staring at a blank mental page is terrifying.
It's the hardest part. Which brings us to the core framework of the source material. It's this 3-step formula to organize your thoughts. Present, past, future.
Present, past, future. The beauty of this is its predictability.
Yeah, when I was reading through the sources, I immediately visualized this like a really good movie trailer.
Oh, that's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah. Because you don't start a modern movie trailer with the hero being born or like going to elementary school.
No, you'd lose the audience instantly.
Right. You start with the hero today in the middle of the action that is your present.
Okay, I track that.
Then the trailer flashes back to a quick montage of their training or their previous battles, just so you understand what they are capable of. And that's the past.
I see where you're going with this.
And finally, the music swells, and you tease the exciting climax of the movie, the conflict to come, and that is the future.
That is a highly effective way to conceptualize it, honestly.
Yeah.
You are essentially pitching the narrative arc of your professional life.
Let's actually pull apart one of the fundamental examples from the text to see how this works in real time.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, step one is the present, who you are today. The source emphasizes that this needs to be short, punchy, and professional.
Punchy is the key word there.
Exactly. The baseline example they provide is a candidate named David. He opens with, "Hello, my name is David. I recently graduated with a degree in business administration. I am passionate about customer service and enjoy solving problems."
Short and sweet.
That's it. Who I am, what my current status is, and what drives me right this second.
Notice what David does not do there. He does not bury the headline.
Right, no fluff.
He immediately establishes his professional identity.
Then we move straight into step two, the past. This is your education, your previous work experience, or, your training montage.
A montage, right?
So David continues by saying, "During college, I completed several projects in marketing and customer communication. I also worked part-time in a retail store where I learned teamwork, communication, and time management."
And here is where the strategy really kicks in.
How so?
Well, he isn't just listing jobs, He is extracting the specific skills from his past, teamwork, time management, that directly correlate to the needs of the corporate role he is interviewing for.
Exactly. He's curating the montage.
Precisely.
And finally, we hit step three, the future. Why do you want this specific job at this specific company?
The climax.
The climax. David finishes his pitch with, "I'm excited about this opportunity because I want to continue learning, improve my skills, and contribute to your company's success." End of the trailer.
Now, if we look at the cognitive neuroscience behind why this specific chronological flow, present, past, future, works so incredibly well, it really comes down to reducing cognitive load.
Cognitive load. Okay, explain that for me.
Think about the person listening to you. If you bounce around erratically, starting with a job you had 3 years ago, then mentioning what you're studying now, then randomly bringing up a goal you have for 10 years in the future.
Oh, that sounds exhausting to listen to.
It is. The interviewer's brain has to work incredibly hard to piece your timeline together like a jigsaw puzzle.
You are basically making them do all the heavy lifting.
Precisely. And when the brain is working hard just to understand the basic sequence of events, it cannot properly evaluate the quality of those events.
Oh, well, that makes total sense. They're too busy figuring out when things happen to care about what happens.
Exactly. By strictly adhering to present, past, future, you prevent yourself from getting lost in the weeds, and you hand the interviewer a perfectly packaged, logical narrative.
We just like stories in order.
Human brains are hardwired for linear storytelling. When you follow that expected pattern, their brain relaxes, and they can actually focus on your value instead of your timeline.
But a great logical structure is just an empty container.
Very true.
If you pour passive, weak language into a perfectly structured container, the interviewer is still going to tune out. I mean, a well-structured movie trailer falls completely flat if the dialogue is terrible.
Oh, absolutely.
This is where the source material completely shifts focus to the actual mechanics of the words you're choosing to use.
Because the vocabulary you deploy is what gives the structure its persuasive power.
Right. And the instructional script is very rigid about upgrading your vocabulary. It explicitly says you must stop using basic conversational phrases in the interview room.
Which is hard for people to do naturally.
It is. If you find yourself constantly saying things like, "I am good at this," or "I know about that," you need to hit the brakes.
Yeah, that language is just too passive.
They suggest upgrading to dynamic adjectives like hardworking, self-motivated, adaptable, reliable, or detail-oriented.
Those are strong.
And instead of using a passive phrase like, "I know," you should substitute things like, "I am familiar with," or "I have developed," or "I have experience with."
The psychological shift from saying, "I know," to "I have developed" is subtle, but it is incredibly profound.
Really? Just from changing one word?
Yes. Think about it. "I know" is completely passive. You could know something just from skimming a Wikipedia page for 5 minutes right before you walked in.
Fair point.
But saying, I have developed, forces the interviewer to visualize you taking active participation in a process. It implies a journey, effort, and growth over time.
Okay, I love that. But here is my major concern with this advice.
Okay, let's hear it.
How do you avoid sounding like you just swallowed a corporate thesaurus?
Oh, that's a real danger.
Right. You really do not want to sit there and sound like a robot rattling off a string of buzzwords. I am a reliable, dedicated, flexible, detail-oriented human. It just sounds completely unnatural.
It sounds unnatural, and frankly, it sounds suspicious.
Suspicious? Why?
The interviewer's brain immediately throws up a red flag, which is exactly why the source explicitly warns against what it categorizes as mistake 2, giving one-word answers.
Ah, okay.
It is simply not enough to drop a heavy adjective like hardworking and expect them to just believe it. In the psychology of persuasion, that is just a claim. A claim without evidence is meaningless.
It's like a lawyer walking into a courtroom saying, my client is innocent, and then just sitting back down and resting their case.
That is exactly what it is like. The human brain discards generic adjectives because they are abstract.
Right, they don't mean anything on their own.
Exactly. There is no visual anchor for the word hardworking. So the source provides a critical adjustment. You must always couple the adjective with immediate, concrete evidence.
So how does that sound in practice?
Well, instead of just dropping the word and stopping, the source provides this blueprint for a complete thought. You'd say something like, I'm hardworking. In my previous project, I always completed my tasks before the deadline.
Ah, so you provide the receipt immediately. You make the abstract concept tangible.
You ground the vocabulary in physical reality. The goal is not to use the most complex, obscure words you can find in the dictionary.
Right, no SAT word.
Exactly. The goal is to communicate a trait and immediately back it up. When you attach a concrete, visualizable example, like physically handing in a project before a deadline, the word hardworking transforms from a hollow buzzword into a proven, undeniable fact in the interviewer's mind.
Wow, okay. So you have your present, past, future narrative arc. You have upgraded your vocabulary from passive to active, and you are bringing the receipts with concrete examples.
You're sounding like a great candidate.
But here is the terrifying reality. You can have all of that perfectly planned out, and how your body physically delivers it can still completely sink the interview.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the physiological reality of being in a high-stakes environment comes into play. Nerves are not just a mental state, they're a very physical reaction.
Yeah, and the source outlines some very clear physical and vocal delivery tips under their bonus tips section.
What do they emphasize?
They cover the fundamentals, maintaining natural eye contact, sitting with upright but relaxed posture, smiling to build rapport. But the most critical element they highlight is mistake 3.
Yeah.
Which is the tendency to speak way too fast.
Ah, yes. If we look at the neuroscience of speaking too fast in an interview, it is deeply tied to the body's ancient fight-or-flight response.
Fight or flight.
From an interview.
Oh, yeah. When you are sitting in that chair and you feel intimidated, your brain perceives the interview panel as a literal threat.
Like a predator.
Exactly. Your adrenal glands flood your system with adrenaline. Your instinct is to get out of that room, out of that situation, as quickly as humanly possible.
Wow.
So candidates subconsciously rush through their answers just to make the spotlight stop shining on them. They are essentially fleeing the conversation.
Yes. But the source script explicitly states a critical, non-negotiable rule. Confidence is more important than speed.
So the antidote is to deliberately speak slowly and pause naturally.
Pausing is a physiological hack.
A hack? How does that work?
When you take a deliberate pause, you are doing two things. First, you are regulating your own breath, which signals to your nervous system that you are safe, lowering your cortisol levels.
Oh, so you're tricking your own brain.
Exactly. And second, you are signaling to the room that you are comfortable taking up space and time. It projects immense authority.
That makes total sense.
It tells the interviewer, I am thoughtful, I am in control, and I'm not panicked by your silence.
And speaking of projecting professionalism and control, the source also touches on mistake 4, which feels like a cardinal rule of interviewing.
Let me guess. Never bad-mouthing past employers.
Exactly. Never making negative comments about past experiences. The script says to never complain about previous employers, teachers, or coworkers.
It's a huge red flag.
But wait, what if your last boss was genuinely a nightmare? I mean, what if a toxic workplace is the entire reason you were looking for a new job in the first place?
Even if your last boss was a literal nightmare, you cannot bring that energy into the room.
Really? Not even a little honesty.
No, because there is this well-documented psychological phenomenon called spontaneous trait transference.
Okay, that sounds intense. What is that?
Well, when you speak negatively about someone else, the person listening to you subconsciously associates those negative traits with you.
Wait, really? So if I say my old boss was disorganized and lazy, the interviewer's brain subtly tags me as disorganized and lazy.
Yes, precisely.
That is wild.
Think about it from their perspective. The interviewer does not know your past boss. All they see is the candidate sitting in front of them focusing on drama and negativity.
Right, you're the one bringing the dark cloud into the room.
Exactly. It signals that you might lack accountability, or that you're just going to be a difficult personality to manage. You must stay relentlessly positive and frame any past difficulties purely as learning experiences.
Okay, good to know. Now, on the topic of nerves and managing your delivery, I have to point out what looks like a glaring contradiction in the source material.
Oh, what did you find?
It explicitly advises don't memorize every word.
Yes, that's a big one.
Now, if my fight or flight response is kicking in, if my brain is flooded with adrenaline, like you said, wouldn't memorizing a script word for word make me feel significantly safer?
I get why you'd think that.
It feels like having a guaranteed safety net.
It feels like a safety net, but it is actually a trapdoor waiting to drop you.
How does memorizing hurt you?
Because rote memorization is incredibly brittle. When you memorize a script word for word, all of your cognitive energy goes into recalling a very specific sequence of syllables.
Instead of actually talking to them.
Right. Rather than actively connecting with the human being sitting across the table, you sound robotic. Your tone becomes flat.
I can picture that, yeah.
And infinitely worse, if your adrenaline spikes and you forget just one single transitional word, the entire mental house of cards collapses.
Oh, no.
You lose your place, you panic, and you freeze.
The deer in the headlights returns.
Precisely. This is why the Force advises that you memorize the structure, the present, past, future framework, but absolutely not the exact word.
You just know the beats you want to hit.
Yes. If you go in knowing you just need to cover who you are today, what you achieved previously, and why you want to be there, you can adapt your vocabulary on the fly.
Which feels way more natural.
It makes your answer resilient. You are no longer reciting a monologue. You are engaging in a dynamic conversation.
You know, to really prove that this structural framework holds up to a stress test, no matter where you are in your career journey, the source material gives us two vastly different sample answers to compare.
Yeah, this is where the theory becomes highly practical.
Right. One is tailored for a total beginner, and the other is for a highly experienced candidate. Let's look at how they both utilize the exact same tool and why it works for both of them.
Sounds good.
First, we have the beginner. This is John Smith, a recent computer science grad from Chicago. For his present, he introduces himself and clearly states his new degree.
Okay, straightforward.
For his past, because he doesn't have corporate experience, he focuses entirely on his college projects, explaining how they helped him improve his technical coding and his communication skills.
That's smart.
And for his future, he talks about actively looking for his first professional opportunity to apply his academic knowledge and grow alongside a company.
Now, acknowledge that this is a very fundamental example, but the underlying mechanics are flawless.
How so?
For someone with zero formal work experience, he is successfully using his academic history as his concrete proof of value.
He's not apologizing for being new.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
He doesn't apologize for his lack of experience. He just slots his relevant academic evidence into the past section.
Now contrast John with the second example in the text, Sarah Johnson. Sarah is a highly experienced candidate.
The pro.
The pro. For her present, she states she is a professional with over 5 years of direct experience in customer service.
Strong start.
For her past, she does not mention school at all. She focuses on hard business metrics. She talks about training new team members, resolving complex customer escalations, and consistently achieving departmental performance goals.
Bringing those receipts.
Exactly. And for her future, she explains she is looking to take on greater leadership responsibilities and directly contribute to the macro success of the organization.
These are two candidates at totally different stages of life, with entirely different arsenals of evidence.
Right. But even though these examples sound like basic interviewing 101, the psychological trigger they are utilizing is profound.
Because of the framework.
Yes. Despite their completely different backgrounds, both candidates hit the exact same structural beats: present, past, future.
Universe.
John uses college projects as his evidence. Sarah uses corporate management metrics. but the vehicle delivering the information to the interviewer's brain is identical.
It perfectly illustrates that this framework is an adaptable tool. It scales with you throughout your entire career.
That's so empowering.
It really is. The cognitive formula does not care if you graduated yesterday or if you have been in the workforce for 25 years.
It just works.
It simply takes whatever value you currently possess and organizes it into a format that the human brain craves and easily digests.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Let's recap the essential roadmap so you can walk into that room fully prepared.
Let's do it.
First, remember that first impressions are not just pleasantries. They are a diagnostic test of your communication skills and boundaries from the second you open your mouth.
Absolutely.
Second, utilize that golden formula to reduce the interviewer's cognitive load, present, past, future. It keeps you on track and keeps them engaged.
Third, upgrade your vocabulary from passive to active, but remember the psychology of persuasion.
Bring the receipts.
Exactly. Always support those strong professional claims with concrete, visualizable evidence. Do not just tell them you are hardworking. Prove it with an example.
And finally, prioritize a steady, confident delivery over brittle memorization. When the adrenaline hits, speak slowly, pause to hack your nervous system, smile naturally, and rely on your structure, not a robotic script.
That's the secret right there.
The next time you walk into an interview and they lean forward and ask you to tell them about yourself, you no longer have to dread it. You do not have to freeze, and you do not have to ramble. You have a concrete, scientifically backed roadmap.
Which leaves you with one final important question to consider.
Ooh, okay. Lay it on us.
If this present, past, future formula is so incredibly effective at concisely proving your value in a high-stakes job interview, where else in your life could you be using it?
Oh, wow.
Right. Think about a chaotic networking event or trying to explain what you do to your partner's parents for the first time, or even just how you introduce yourself to a stranger at a coffee shop.
That is a fascinating application. It really goes beyond the interview room.
It does. You are constantly being asked, in one way or another, to tell people about yourself.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
So think about it. How much does the way you narrate your own story dictate how the world values you?
That's a great thought to leave on.
The next time someone asks you for the time, make sure you know exactly how to give it to them without ever making them sit there and watch you build the watch.